What's up, guys? I have a special show today where I talk for an hour with great Gabriel. We cover everything from the Bears' victories, trade rumors, the play of the offensive and defensive line, and more. I want to quickly thank today's sponsor, Profit X, but let's go ahead and get right into it. What's up, guys? Joined here again by my good friend Greg Gabriel. And for once, the Chicago Bears are on a winning streak, no longer losing. We've won three straight games, and it finally does feel like a new era of Bears football. Greg, how you feeling today on this
Hey,
Victory Friday?
I feel good about this. It's funny, Swifty, because I didn't even think about it until like the next day after the Monday night game. And Tuesday, I'm looking at it and I go,
Mhm.
the two games in a row, the Raiders in this game were both 25-24.
I didn't realize the score was the same either. That's something I
Same
didn't even
score,
think about
same
yet.
ending.
Oh, wow. And it just different kicker. We had Jake Moody
Yeah,
instead of Cairo Santos this
right.
time. So yeah, 100%. It feels good to win football games. It feels good to have confidence in your team that they're not going to give up. Because I remember the last 10 years or so, anytime you turn on a Bears game, when you get to the second half, even if we're up by 14, you almost have this just gut feeling that they're going to find a way to blow this. And I feel like these last three victories here, they're starting to change the culture and they're starting to especially fix the locker room. Because one thing you got to do is you got to get these guys to believe in themselves and know, and they got to have the confidence that they can win the games. And until you do that on the football field, it's just talk. And they're starting to do it now, and I love to see that.
It's funny because, and I agree with you. Before you'd be waiting for something to cave in.
Mhm.
The last two games, I felt very confident that they were going to come back and win those games.
Oh yeah, it feels so different. And I mean, it started with the first one, or after the Cowboys win. It was the Raiders game. It felt the same way, and I was actually live streaming for that one. And I told people in the chat when things were starting to go bad, I was like, "Look, guys, we're gonna be able to come back from this.
That's
We just
exactly
have,
the way I felt. Same thing.
you
I
know."
said they are going to come back and win this football game.
And it just feels different because our head coach, and I don't know if you've seen the like post game clips and stuff of Ben Johnson and how turned up he is and how intense he is, but those have been fun to watch, and they
Yeah,
looks honestly way better than anything I saw during the Nagy era or the Eberflus era, and it feels like we finally got one right. And as Bears fans, we deserve this.
it's like he's in control,
Hmm. And
total
this is
control.
going to be another big test here because this is the first game we're going to be favored for this week against the Saints. And
Right.
this is the definition of a trap game. You have a team that's 1-5, one of the worst in the NFL. The Bears are firing on all cylinders here on a three-game winning streak. It's up to Ben Johnson to prepare these guys and have them ready to go on Sunday and make sure they're not overlooking the Saints and looking beyond to next week, that big matchup on the road against the Ravens. They got to take care of business this week. And that's really usually the sign of a good head coach when you can get those guys ready.
There's no question, but I tell you, and he said it in his presser. He goes, "This is a good team," and obviously some of that's coach speak. You hear it every time that the team's a lot better than their record, etc. I remember when I was started off with the Bills, Chuck Knox was the head coach, and he'd have his pregame or not pregame, his midweek radio show, and he'd always say, they might be playing a team that's 2-6 or something. He goes, "This is the best 2-6 team in football." I mean,
Yeah.
but I watched a little of that New Orleans New England game, but the replay was on the other day, so I was
Mhm.
watching it, and really, they played pretty good in that game. What I
Yeah.
the part of it I watched, I probably watched a half of it. So
I mean,
and
and
that game was in New Orleans, so now they got to come on the road, and it's a different story.
yeah, but there is a team that has some talent. I do view the Saints as one of the worst teams in the NFL, but a lot of times, if you're a good coach team, and when the teams have their back against the wall like that, sometimes those are most dangerous teams. And there's another story here that's kind of being underlooked that I'll talk about a little bit later this week. But Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. This is the guy who was the quarterback at Oklahoma when Caleb Williams came in.
Right,
He got benched for Caleb.
Right.
And they asked him about it the other day in the media. Spencer, you could tell there's a little chip on his shoulder to prove people that he's just as good as Caleb Williams, and that's something to keep an eye on in this game. Now, I feel like we got to put this team away because they're going to want to fight and they're going to want to hang around in this game. We can't let them hang around.
Well, in a game like this, you got to come out and swing first and lay a couple punches. And if that happens, then it gets brought down to normal type situation.
Exactly like what we did against the Dolphins in the preseason. You come out, it's a team that you're better than. You come out and you punch them in the face early and you knock them out of the game. You get their confidence out of them and you get a big lead early on. That's what we need to do on Sunday. We need to take care of business. And I think that would also ease fans' mind a little bit because a lot of fans are still not completely buying in yet. They're like, yeah, we won a couple games, but we won 3 games in a row last year with Eberflus. What did that prove? Getting to a 4 game winning streak, though, this is something we haven't done since Vic Fangio was our defensive coordinator. So this is a game that's big, in my opinion. It's big for the culture in this locker room. And it's also, we won't have a better opportunity than this going forward. That's one of my biggest takeaways here. Our next 4 games, there are some teams, it's not going to be easy. There's never easy games in the NFL. You got the
No.
Saints, you got the Ravens, you got the Bengals, you got the Giants. Their combined record of those 4 teams is 6-18 on the year right now. You're not going to have a better stretch of more winnable games. Now, the Ravens worry me because they got 2 weeks to prepare for us, and they'll be getting Lamar Jackson back. So
Right.
they're not a normal 1-5 team. Like you said,
No, they're
we
not
might
close.
hear it.
They could very easily have flip flopped that record, and having Lamar hurt didn't help at all. They're a good football team. I do not. I'm going into that game thinking I'm not counting that as a W. I think
You
that's going to
can't,
be a
yeah.
Ravens game, and that's going to be the Ravens comeback game.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a game, but I do
you're
believe,
catching them at the wrong spot. But at the same time, you got to beat New Orleans this week, then you got to beat Cincinnati the following week, and then the Giants.
and both of those teams too, and that's where it comes down to. The NFL, it's always about any given Sunday, and you can see it. The Bengals looked better last night. Joe Flacco had that team firing on all cylinders, and I think, but Joe Flacco, it was a curious situation to me. One, the Browns trade a guy to a division rival, but two, Joe Flacco, a guy at this point of his career, you got to thank the teams he's been on. He's never been on really explosive offenses, especially when you look at his time with the Ravens and the Browns. Putting him on a team and giving him Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Flacco can just go out there and play. He's not trying to carry that team. He's just trying to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers. And if he keeps playing at the level he did last night, the Bengals are now a dangerous team as well.
Well, that might have been the best game he's played in 5 years, or
Oh yeah.
And there's one thing about, and I respect Flacco because he's got longevity. He's played as long as he has, but at the same time, he can't get out of his own way.
Yeah.
So
True.
if you rush him, you're going to win. There's a show. I don't know if you saw it in that group chat we're in. There was a clip that some Cleveland radio guy who goes off on
Oh,
rants. I
he's
guess
mad. Oh yeah. He
I,
wants to fire the
he was
GM
saying
and
it was a fireable offense for Andrew Berry to trade Joe Flacco
trade
away.
Flacco in the division. I mean, the Browns fans got to be heated about that, especially when you turn over to Dylan Gabriel and he's not doing much on offense, and you had Flacco already in the building. Now, for me, I think it's probably the right move for the Browns because that's a team that's tanking. That's a team that's not winning anything this year, even with Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
So
who are you
if you're
tanking for?
anybody, offensive line, D line, anything. I mean, it's not the best draft class in the world next year, but looking at that 2027 class, that's what I'd have my eye on. But when it comes down to it, if he can keep playing that way, and if you watched the game last night, did you see Mike Tomlin's face after they called the read option where Joe Flacco kept it and took off running?
No,
Tomlin was
I
no
didn't
one in
watch
the
much of the
stadium
game to
saw
be
that
honest.
coming.
I said, "No, I don't
Yeah.
want to watch this game," so I did some other stuff.
They had a play call there. It was like a 3rd and 9, and they did a read option where Joe Flacco pulled it and ran for the first down, and the announcer said it himself. not a single person in the stadium saw that coming because Joe Flacco at this point in his career running the ball, and they flashed the camera to Mike Tomlin, and
You
he
and I
all
might
he's,
run faster than Joe Flacco right now, and I
hey,
can't run.
seeing Great Gabriel race Joe Flacco would be prime time TV.
Br- br-
That's prime time.
Bring out your
Oh man.
sandbox.
But you should, Tomlin's face after that one, he was mad and in disbelief at the same time. It was one of those faces where it's like, did Joe Flacco just run for a first down on me? But so that's another game. All four of these games coming up, they're going to be tough games. Nothing is easy in the NFL, but I
Ever.
do believe every one of these games is winnable for the Bears, and we won't have another opportunity like this. And with how tough the second half of the season is when it comes to the schedule, we need to take advantage of this right now and continue piling up wins because we can actually put ourselves back into the playoff conversation if we can keep winning.
No question. But let's go back up a little bit. You talk about Spencer Rattler, and he's
There
got
it
a
is.
chip on his shoulder with Caleb. Well, how about DA having a little chip on his shoulder with New Orleans?
Ooh. Did you hear his presser?
No, I haven't listened to it yet, but that was done yesterday. I
Oh,
just got to go on the website and listen to it.
he's mad because you know how our media team is. They're
Yeah.
asking him, "Oh, what went wrong in New Orleans?" And he's like, "I don't want to talk about that." And then they doubled down on it and said, "Can you take us through the season after Katrina hit?" They're going back 20. They want him to go back 20 years and relive stuff that happened in 2005, 2006.
Who
He
are the
said,
idiots in the room asking the questions?
we already know the answer to that one. Yeah,
Jesus.
it's bad in that case, man. But I love Dennis Allen and how he responded to that because he shut it down. He's like, I'm not going back to that. I'm not answering questions from 20 years ago. I'm focused on beating them on Sunday. I don't want to go back and think about what went wrong when I
Hey,
was the head
we
coach or
we
what went
this
wrong.
isn't a class of revisionist history.
Yeah, but that's leave it to our media team, the Chicago Bears media team, to always ask the questions that nobody really wants to hear.
And
But
Mark
and here's
Potash
another
isn't even in the room anymore.
exactly, man. Now they just replaced them with more guys that can ask horrible
Oh
questions
God,
for this
I
one.
got now. You got me thinking. As soon as we get done doing this, I'm going to turn that on.
Go watch that. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. That one was one that was actually pretty interesting. Did you have any thoughts on Jake Moody's night on Monday Night Football? What did you think about Jake Moody?
I mean, obviously he came through. I think the kick that got blocked, he almost like came over the top on it. If you're a golf swing, and I think
Hmm.
that he would have missed it anyway. So really didn't matter if it got blocked. It looked like it was going to go off to the left, but aside from that, he did really good, and
Yeah,
that
and
will give him confidence. But here's the important thing, and Johnson talked a little bit about it, but these games are on tape. He's had an up and down career. He hasn't been in the league
oh yeah.
that long, but he came through in clutch situations.
I
So
mean, he was clutch
that's
in
going to
college
get him
as
a
well.
job somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's where. How do you think there's a possibility here, especially with Cairo missing practice again, trending towards him maybe not playing another week? Do you think there's a possibility or a situation where, and I don't want to disrespect Cairo because I was talking about the other way. Cairo is now the Bears' most accurate kicker in history. So I'm never trying to put anything against Cairo, but there are some concerns with Cairo with his leg strength, and
Yeah,
he
but the leg
honestly,
strength, the only thing where I'd argue here, I mean, he's kicked a 56 yarder, but the
he's getting
kickoffs
better
don't
than that.
matter anymore. It's where it was the kickoffs that you were worried about. And, the field goal, yeah, he didn't get it up high. The rise on the one kick that was blocked last year that was, cost them a game or whatever. That's the thing I think he fixed. Not sure. A couple practices I was at, he was getting the ball up really, really quickly. And
Mhm.
I think his leg's stronger now than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's something that, and I talked about this a little bit because at one point I was under the belief that, look, a guy's leg is not going to get stronger as he gets older. But when you look at Cairo's stats, his first 6, 7 years in the league, he was hitting 40% beyond 50 yards. Now he's hitting 85 to 90% beyond 50 yards, and he keeps upping his range. if you can kick 55 yarders consistently, suddenly he's got a big leg. I remember a couple years ago, I didn't feel confident with Cairo kicking anything over 49 yards. And now it's like, I think Cairo can hit a 52, 54, and I'm not scared when he's out there.
No,
But
I hear you. I'll tell you, Swifty, these kickers of the league are so freaking good now.
oh yeah. And
I
they keep
mean,
getting better.
all of them are real good.
And that's one reason I was really impressed with Jake Moody's kickoffs. His kickoffs were consistently landing inside the 5 yard line.
Except for the
And
first
so
one,
yeah,
about
the
eight
first one,
yards
yeah.
deep.
Yeah, that one, but after that, he was really impressive in that category for me. And he came through with clutch field goals. He earned the confidence of his coaching staff. Ben Johnson even gave him a game ball. Is there a possibility that they end up moving forward with Jake Moody and moving on from Cairo?
Well, I know the coach said no, but
Okay,
that
okay.
that because he was asked that question earlier in the week. He said,
Ben
Cairo's
Johnson
our
or Richard
kicker.
Hightower? I didn't hear that one.
No, Johnson.
Oh, okay, I think I missed that one. I think I missed that one.
Okay, so it was might have been Monday's afternoon's presser. Could have been Monday, could have been Wednesday, but it was, or rather Tuesday or Wednesday, because there
Mhm.
wasn't one Monday. But he did mention that somebody asked about it, and he said, he just kind of threw it off, and so then he got to worry. Well, can somebody come and poach this guy
Oh
off
yeah,
the practice squad? But you can protect a couple guys every week.
yeah.
So you put in the protection names on Tuesday morning or Monday afternoon or something, and nobody can touch those guys. So you just until you need him. Here's the only thing though: you only can bring him up 3 times. Then you
Hmm.
got to bring
And then
him.
you have to sign him
Then you
to the
got to put
active
him on the
roster.
roster.
My worry, though, the one worry for me is when it comes to Cairo's injury, it's a thigh injury. We don't know anything about it, but it is on his kicking leg. It's his right leg.
All
And
right.
that's where, if it's something that's going to drag on and he's going to miss an extended period of time,
Well, they haven't.
I,
They could have. They had the option to put him down, and they haven't done it.
they haven't done it yet. So I'm kind of wondering. I think this week is crucial. If he returns to practice and comes back and plays this week, it's a non-story, and Moody will probably be signed somewhere else in a couple of weeks and be gone. But if Moody comes out and has another big game, Cairo misses another week, I would think it'd be a little bit of a story. But we're not going to spend too much time talking about kickers. I think the guy I want to talk about, because a lot of fans are doubting this guy, is Austin Booker. He has a chance to come back this week. He was the story of preseason and training camp. And for you, as a guy with all your years and years of scouting in the NFL, I want to talk about Austin Booker because it seems like our fans are split. Half the people cannot wait for this guy to come back because they think he's on the potential of a breakout. And the other half are like, he's getting overrated for what he did in the preseason. And you never want to overrate what someone does in preseason action. But to me, it wasn't just preseason, it's
He
what
did
he
it
was
in joint
doing in reps.
practices.
Yeah, the joint practices where he destroyed the Dolphins left tackle, Terran Armstead. He looked really good against Deion Dawkins for Buffalo as well. And he was doing it against the Bears, Braxton Jones, Karan Amagaji, Theo Benedict, and Ozzie Trapillo all throughout training camp. So it wasn't like he just splashed in a preseason game. He's a guy who was legit, in my opinion, on the verge of breaking out. My question is he going to continue that trajectory? Is the injury going to hold him back or slow him down? But to
I
me,
think he
he's
was
a guy.
ready. He was full last week. Here's what I'm guessing, but what happened is they wanted to beef up the interior for that
Mhm.
particular game, and with the injury to Santos, and they had to bring up the kicker, that limited what they could do with bringing guys off an IR.
Yeah, 100%. And it also gives Austin Booker another full week to get back to 100%. Make sure he's ready to go. He's now got in 5 straight full practices. If he practices full today, that'll be 6 straight. I think he should be ready to come off the IR and
Well, yeah,
hopefully
I mean
contribute.
he had to be doing cardio work while he was out, at least
Oh yeah,
the last few weeks of it. And but to go back to the beginning, he's not a lot bigger. He's a little bigger than he was. He's a lot stronger. He's never going to
oh yeah.
get that big. He doesn't have the frame. But he uses his hands really good. But you go back, okay, he had 4 sacks in preseason. He had 4 sacks in less than 2 quarters of play. That's the
And
impressive part.
he was doing them in big moments early in the game. A lot of times guys will do things like that in the preseason in the second half when there's no starters playing on the other side. He
Right.
was doing it mostly against first string. There might have been a couple reps against second string guys, but he wasn't going against guys who aren't going to be in the NFL. It wasn't
Right.
like he was out there going against their fourth tackle. So I'm a big fan of Austin Booker.
Oh, I am
I
too.
think
He's gotten a lot of it was just use his hands better, add to his move arsenal, uh, and then that allows him to get off the block quicker and get to the quarterback. He's bending a little bit better than he'd get a little tall last year. From what I saw this year between camp and the games, he was bending a little better. Uh,
mhm.
hey, does that mean he's going to be a 10 sack guy? No, but he's going to be a guy that you can use in situations. He's going to help you. He's going to put pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. And when it comes to Booker, he's a guy who, if he can help this pass rush, we could really use that right now. While our pass rush has not been that great, I do think Montez Sweat has played better than people are giving him credit for.
Oh,
He's
he's
not getting
played
the
really
sack
good.
numbers.
He's not finishing. He had one
Mhm,
sack called away because of a
mhm.
penalty. He's like this far away from having like 5 sacks.
He's up when it looks at the pressure percentage around the NFL, he's top 5 right now. He's up there with some of the best, and also 2 other guys that are performing pretty well are Deo Odangbo and Gervon Dexter. We're just missing that 4th piece on the defensive line, and that's Grady Jarrett right now, a guy who is he's concerning to me because Grady Jarrett's a guy, he's been awesome in the NFL, and I've heard people say a couple of the comments I got about Grady Jarrett is, you know how Bears fans are. They're comparing him to Nate Davis. They're like, we gave him money and he doesn't want to play. And I'm like, look, that's not Grady.
No,
Grady's a guy, he's going to leave his all on the field. If he's missing practice, he's really hurt. And considering how long he's been out now, it goes back to before the bye week. I'm worried about Grady Jarrett's knee. That's something that's bothering. That's
okay.
probably a big concern right now.
I could add to this a little bit. There was a picture. I think it might have been in on Twitter. On the Bears Twitter account, and it shows there's a picture of the captains. They got a pink patch, or the on the what's it say, Advocare training facility or whatever it says,
Hmm.
and it's pink because it's October, for breast
Yep.
cancer. So they got the 4 captains there. Grady's got sweatpants on. But you can't see it, but if you look at it real close, he's got a big, huge brace on his right leg.
Mm. Yeah, whatever's holding him back, it's a serious injury. They haven't put him on IR yet, so it gives me hope that they do think he can return pretty soon. I'm just
Bigsy
wondering
wrote
what
the
that.
other day that it might have been yesterday that he thinks he had a procedure.
Ooh, might have even been. I actually missed that tweet, so it's
No,
possible.
he wrote it.
According.
I think it was in his Q&A yesterday that was in the Tribune.
Mm. That would be shocking if he's had something done to his knee, probably something minor like a cleanup procedure or something. But if he can get back on the field and actually be the guy that he's been his entire career, that could also really help this defensive line. I think our defensive line, the play is trending up. Another guy I noticed this week, Shamar Turner. He
I was
came in
just
and
going to
played.
say it, but
He
I knew
played
you
edge.
beat me to it. Shamar
He played
Turner, he
edge.
played 21 snaps last Sunday. So he's getting more
Solid edge.
snaps, but he's making plays too. He's not just
Mhm.
getting snaps, he's making plays.
And it's some I know we talked about it a little bit in the off season because I felt like no one in the media really gave much attention that Shamar Turner was basically an edge his whole career. He played defensive end in high school. He played edge his first 3 years at Texas A&M. He didn't move inside until Nick Scorton transferred in from Purdue. Once they had Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart, Turner was like, "Hey, I'm the odd man out here. I'm going to bulk up and I'll move inside the defensive tackle to help the team." But to me, he's a guy who people talk about Ozzie Trapillo being more comfortable at right tackle. Well, if you're talking about Shamar Turner, he's clearly more comfortable at edge because that's where he's played the majority of his career, except for one season. So he's a guy I think can also factor into this as an edge, and he's a completely different skill set than Austin Booker. Whereas Austin Booker has that late lightning quick get off and he can explode around the corner. Herner's a guy who can bull rush his guy back into the QB. So you got that power, you got that speed. It gives us some hope on a defensive line that we have some guys Dennis Allen can develop and become actual contributors this season.
Okay, how about the one guy you haven't mentioned yet? Very sneakily has 2 sacks already.
You're talking about Javon Dexter?
No, D-Rob.
Oh, D-Rob, Dom Rob. Hey, Dom Rob is a guy. Hey, I don't ever want to put nothing on him. I don't want to put expectations on him, but anything we can get from Dom Rob is a plus. And there's fans have been wanting to cut Dom Rob for 3 full seasons now to see
Oh, I know.
him
Let me look.
actually
I
developing.
think he's either got 1.5 or 2 sacks. Let me look
He's
here.
he's making a difference. He's getting back there and he's getting doing it in limited snaps as well.
Okay,
So
they gave him 1.5, and they gave the other half to Gervon Dexter.
yeah, Big Dex. Big Dex is a guy who's really coming on. I'd like to see if Grady Jarrett can come back. I think that's the guy it would affect most is Gervon Dexter.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a good game, and I think Da is going to have that defense fired up.
Oh yeah, ready to go against his former
He
team.
is. This is his statement game.
Oh, the Dennis Allen state, and he's going against. If you can shut down Spencer Rattler, shut down that Saints offense, that'd look really good on Dennis Allen. It'll feel really good for him getting that revenge against his former team.
Of course, people thought Flus was going to be able to do that against the Bears, and we saw what happened. So maybe I should just shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, but we were on the winning side of that one. We want to stay on the winning side with this one. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of good with our defense. I think Kyler Gordon also played a major role in that one and helped our. I think our secondary looked a lot better once you added Kyler in there to the nickel.
Right.
That really helped our defense out.
And speaking of that, I mean, no one's really playing good. He's getting credit for it, but Tyreek.
Tyreek, man, and he started out the year so bad. Those first 2 games, he was getting picked on. A lot of people in my comments and on social media, they were writing Tyreek Stevenson off as another one of Ryan Poles' busts. Just another guy, Ryan Poles. And then Tyreek has turned it around and he's played inspired football. Without Jalen Johnson here, I feel like Tyreek has really stepped his game up for these 3
Really has.
wins. And I got to give him some props, man. You got to give that guy his flowers.
He had a play, nothing to do with coverage, but it really jumped out. I think it was in the second half. They're going, the offense, Bears were going left to right on defense as you're watching TV. So it was a run play to the outside, to the offense's right, his left. He plays the left corner. He comes up and stops that run right at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he didn't just arm tackle it. He laid a lick on the guy.
Yep. He did. There was another play where the running back was heading up the middle and it looked like he had a big hole. And Tyreek actually had came from behind and dove and had his feet. And you don't really see Tyreek, but you just see the running back kind of slow down and
Right.
he kind of can't go anywhere. And then the linebackers converge and make the tackle. And it looked like he had a big hole to run through. But Tyreek dove at him from behind, grabbed a hold of those legs and slowed him down. So Tyreek is a guy, he's making plays, he's playing his heart out, and he's really helping this defense get better. So you gotta give some love to Tyreek.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? He's matured. It's just real simple. Because
He's the one guy.
he was playing with a few screws loose upstairs, and he's fixed it up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, man. He's a guy. And then, but really, the biggest change I think has came from the offensive line. Theo Benedict being inserted at left tackle over Braxton Jones. That has made a world of difference, especially for our run game. Did you notice anything from that?
His run blocking is really, really good. And actually, Baldy puts out these clips. His pass blocking has been pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
And for a short arm guy, and for a tackle, he's got short arms. But he moves his feet. He's very, very athletic. You go back, and I got buried in my computer here somewhere. His his pro day times. They were like off the chart times. He's that athletic. He was like a 7.3 or a 7.4 three cone. And, you know, the 20 shuttle was real fast. He jumped real high. So, I mean, the athleticism is there. He ran like 5 flat.
Yeah, he's a guy. And honestly, what he's really done is he's stabilized the anchor position at left tackle. I mean, we've been getting bull rushed at left tackle by teams. It's kind of been a game plan against us since Braxton Jones won that starting left tackle job over
You
3
aren't going to
years
bull
ago.
rush him.
Yeah, it's been a problem with our offense, and it kind of hurts the offensive line as a whole because if that left tackle can't anchor, they're able to push them back, and the quarterback he has to step up in the pocket to avoid that or get
Yep.
away, and it opens up so much for the interior rushers where we were getting beat as well. So having him anchor that left side, I think it's really helped this offensive line gel and take a step forward.
You go back to they put him in with like a series of two to go in the second quarter a week, you know, against the Raiders, and then
Yeah.
starts last week. Actually, when he came in, so starting in the second half of the Raiders game, the running game started picking up.
It did. It really did. You could see it. Watching the first half to the second half, you're like, oh, all of a sudden we got a run game. Like, is Theo making that big of a difference? And then you saw this week where we were running for over 7 yards a carry on first down. DeAndre Swift had the best game he's had as a Chicago Bear, and Theo was a big part of that. Now, I don't want to give all the credit to Theo because the rest of the O line is blocking their asses off too. And Darnell Wright, that's a guy I got to talk about. He's top of the NFL and allowing the least amount of pressures. But on that, you saw that run play that was to the right where there were two guys out there, and
You took
Darnell.
two out.
Most time, anytime you see a play like that, any offensive tackle is just going to grab the one guy, whoever their man is, and try to take them out. But Darnell, it was just so inspiring to me to see him find a way to block both of those guys. And it's like Darnell is the real deal, man. He's a guy I believe he could be Ryan Pohl's first Pro Bowler. If he, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be up there. Now, obviously, Romo Dunze and Caleb will be competing as well. But Darnell is that guy. If he can continue taking a step forward, all he has to do is clean up those penalty issues, and Darnell can be one of the best right tackles in football. And I'm excited about that.
There's no question. I mean, you go back to his last year at Tennessee, and he's playing Alabama, and they got a guy who's ends up being the number 2 pick in the draft.
Will Anderson,
Stone
yep.
holds him the whole game.
He didn't get a single pressure that entire game. He
No,
shut it. He was on the
kept him
ground
right on the
more.
line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he was on the ground. He spent more time on the ground than he did in the backfield. That's how
Yeah,
much Darnell dominated him. So I see that potential coming through. And right, he just needs to continue getting better with his focus, stay healthy, clean up those pre-snap penalties. And Darnell is a stud. And this offensive line taking a step forward has to be the most positive development right now, in my opinion.
oh, no question. But when you got two guys playing tackle that can move as good as those two guys do.
Yeah.
Now,
And then you have a
Brett and I
third guy like
can't take it
Ozzie.
away from Braxton. Braxton was pretty good out in space now.
Oh yeah. In space, Braxton was good. That was his best attribute for sure.
But
You get
Theo can do the same thing, and actually Ozzie can do the same thing. Ozzie's good in space. I mean, they got some tackles that can move.
I think we actually have a lot of potential on our offensive line. It's been a trouble spot for more than a decade in Chicago. And right now things are really looking up and up. Even Jonah Jackson at right guard has stabilized his play and looked really good over the last couple of weeks as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, part of it I think is it takes time for them to come together. You had 3 new guys on the interior who had never played with each other. I think it just took. They didn't do much in the preseason as far as actual snaps, so I think it just took time for them to gel. Know
Yep.
each other.
And even during all that time, they most of the time it was either Braxton Jones or Ozzie Trapillo at left tackle, so Theo wasn't out there either. You need all 5 of these guys to gel and become a unit, and that's something that if that can happen over the next few weeks, take advantage of this 4-game streak where you have some winnable opponents. Let that offensive line gel, and the future of this team is really bright. We can actually compete in 2025.
I'm hoping, but I'm not. Let's just sit
Cautiously
there.
optimistic.
Yes, right.
And we'll
Perfect terminology.
Yeah, and with that, I think that's a good segue. We have the trade deadline coming up. Now, the Bears are finally winning, and we've seen Ryan Poles be aggressive even before this team turned the corner. If they can win the next 2 weeks, or at least compete these next 2 games, go 1-1 at the very least, do you expect them to be aggressive and potentially add anybody at the trade deadline?
I talked to Big Z, and he first said it on the radio last week, and then he wrote it this week. Might have been in the again yesterday in the Q&A is that he was writing about, or not. Yeah, Thursday was Q&A, and he said that he's below 50-50 as far as he thinks. He thinks that what he said on the radio 2 weeks ago is that Johnson doesn't feel this team's a contender yet. And so why you have to give up a lot, good assets to get one player that may or may not make a difference when waiting might be the better option. But it all depends. What it gets down to is who's available and what you got to pay for them.
Yeah, exactly. What opportunities do they have? Are there any values out there we can get? Maybe a team is willing to part with a guy who can contribute, maybe not a huge name like a Trey Hendrickson or a Jeffrey Simmons, but maybe you can get a second tier player and not have to give up as much. And that's what it comes down to. But Poles has found ways to make deals these last couple of years when this team definitely wasn't ready to compete. So if a name comes available that both Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles are big fans of, I can't rule it out.
No, I can't either. I just, you got to be careful. That's all. From I can go back and until maybe 5 years ago, the trade deadline was just a date on the calendar. There was never any movement in the NFL, and it's all of a sudden picked up. A lot of it has to do with the salary cap and wanting to dump contracts and contracts that are going to be in maybe in the future years or whatever. Somebody that's not panning out, just get them off the books. But they never used to do that. They just, it was a day that came on the calendar and passed by. But
Yep.
now there is activity. It's nothing compared to baseball, hockey, and basketball, but there is activity.
It's actually becoming a thing. The last few years, it's been maybe 3, 4 years now where every year there seems to be close to a handful, if not more, moves made towards a deadline. Teams are getting rid of players that they don't have in their long-term future, or just trying to acquire some draft picks for the next season. Even seen a couple player for player swaps as well. So there
Well,
will
and
be some
guys
action.
who are going to be free agents, so then you're trading a rental. But that's the important thing. If you're trading for a rental, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't give up anything.
Yeah, you can't give up a second or third round pick if a guy's not going to be
No,
here long term.
not when
That's how
not
you.
when he's coming out of contract because his agent wants the big money, and so unless you
Yep.
can work out a deal, and the Bears don't have any money, see that's part of the thing too. They're up against the cap. Yeah, you can extend people and stretch that out, but that's not always good business doing that.
Yep. So I will talk about the one player that we could trade that could open up some cap space, and fans are really iffy about this one. There seems to be this narrative out there that people seem to think that DJ Moore is getting the kind of attention is DJ Moore is getting double teamed on every route, and that's why Romo Dunze is open. When I watch the tape, that's not what I see. I'm a big fan of DJ Moore. I love DJ as a player. I was probably as happy as anyone when we got him. But when I'm looking at this entire roster and trying to build a championship team, DJ Moore currently is third on our team in targets. He's behind Olamide Zacchaeus. He's making 25 million a season. There are teams out there that could use DJ as a number one weapon. If we could get a valuable draft pick for DJ Moore, not only does that give us cap flexibility, but it also opens up targets for the first two players that Ben Johnson took. And this is where in my mind it makes sense. Ben Johnson took Colston Loveland. He took Luther Burden. These are guys that he has specific plans for to be huge parts of this offense. Right now, some of those targets are going to DJ Moore. If DJ is gone, suddenly that opens the door. Luther's on the field a lot more. Holston can see more targets, and it's a potential here. I know people are not loving this one. A lot of people do not want to trade DJ, and I get it because I'm a huge fan.
I don't want to trade him. Because I think of the part two, he's getting 4 or 5 snaps a day at game at
That
running
running
back
back as
too.
well, yeah, putting him in. But I also believe Luther Burden can do that same thing.
He can, but he hasn't. And
Yeah.
here's what's going on. And I might be totally off the wall on that. You hear Johnson always talk about trust.
Hmm.
I don't think he's at that level with Luther Burden. He's got a minimal trust level that he has a package for him. But is he ready to put him in for 60 snaps? I don't think so.
Yeah. It's tough because to me, it's like, okay, so here's what I saw last week. DJ played the whole game, had 4 targets. Luther was on the field for 13 snaps and had 5 targets.
Yep.
To me, there's something there that Ben Johnson really wants. He has a lot of big plans for Luther Burden, and we know, or we
There's no
hope.
question. And you could be, I'm just playing devil's advocate with you,
Yeah.
just,
Oh, yeah. I love that.
for the purpose of conversation. It is, you're going to take a cap hit, but it's not that bad.
Hmm. And it's going to
Okay.
clear up a lot of space going forward, and especially in
Oh yeah,
2026.
going forward it does, but you're going to have a carryover. You're going to have a cap hit next year, and you're going to have a, because it's after June 1st. You're going to have a cap hit both years, but it's not insurmountable. So it's. I mean, I don't know. It's they gave. It was part of the big deal. I guess Swifty, what it really gets down to is what are you getting in return to make you say it was worth it.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really hard to. I know we need a pass rusher, but trying to trade DJ for a pass rusher, that's probably going to be hard to accomplish. But what you can do is you can trade DJ for picks and then use those picks in combination to acquire a pass rusher if there's one available. But I don't think you're trading DJ straight up for a pass rusher, which is what a lot of people would hope for. My
But
thing
what
when it
pass
comes to,
rusher is going to be available?
I mean, a couple I could see. The guy I'd love to see is Kayvon Thibodeau. Um, who's
That's the guy I thought going into the year may be a guy who is a trade day candidate because of the fact that who they took last year and they gave the big contract to the Carolina defensive end when they got him. So I
they got
thought, but
Abdul
then
Carter.
they turned around and picked up the 5th-year option on him. But
Yeah,
actually,
but I also
and
think
when
that
you look
makes
at it
them.
from that point of view, it actually helped them out because then you know what the money is going forward. You at least got another year on him.
It also makes him more valuable in a trade because he's not a rental for just this year. You
Right.
have control of him next year as well. And when you're looking at the Giants, I think Malik Neighbors going out with a torn ACL. That's a team that could really use DJ Moore right now because they have a first round pick, Jackson Dart. You got a rookie quarterback, and they have no weapons for him on offense until Neighbors gets back. DJ would be a guy that could really help him, but that's just a dream for me. It's a dream scenario, but I think my biggest point that people are overlooking that DJ is our number two option in this offense is I think Colston Loveland. He's drafted to be that guy. It's not about just being a wide receiver versus tight end. Colston Loveland was taken in the top 10. And if he's not one of our top two weapons on offense within the next year, something's wrong there. He's a guy who he needs to be more involved in this offense. It doesn't have to be
Okay,
Luther
so
Burden.
let me ask you this: would you trade DJ straight up for Kevon Thibodeau?
Yes. I mean, I would even, I
I
would
think you
even,
need. I'm going to
I would
based
throw in a
on.
third round pick.
I think you need more than Kevon Thibodeau to get DJ Moore.
See, no, the
I don't care if
response
he's a
I'm
pass
getting,
rusher. It's has
yeah.
been his production and everything else.
That's interesting because see, the response I'm getting from fans on Twitter when I tweeted it out a couple weeks ago was, "No way would the Giants give up Thibodeau for DJ, we'd have to give up a
Hey,
second
he's
round
number
pick
three.
and DJ.
He's not now. Granted, Carter's a rookie, so Thibodeau may start, but in the real world, he's number three.
Listen, if we got a draft pick and Kayvon Thibodeau for DJ Moore, I'd be running circles around the house celebrating that victory. But
But you know
I
what?
would
You
do
ain't.
that.
When's the Bears game with the Giants?
It's 4 weeks from now.
Okay, well
We got the Saints. Yeah.
that's after the trade deadline. That trade ain't
Mhm.
happening.
Ah, you're scared of having DJ come back with that revenge game on us.
Yeah, I just don't see that. That one's not happening. I can't see that.
Yeah.
Saying let this guy come back into the building and rip you a new one.
Yeah. And I know we need the other guy would be Braxton Jones. Do- I know Braxton is you always want depth at the tackle position. But if Ozzy can solidify himself as that swing tackle, and someone offers you anything for Braxton, even a fifth round pick, they'd have to at least entertain it
Yeah,
now, in
I
my
would have
opinion.
thought going into the year, but he played so darn poorly. I don't know what you can get. I mean, you can get something. You can get a little more in a cup of coffee. But hell, a fifth, that may be a stretch right now. Just trying to be practical. If somebody offered you a fifth, I think you got to take it.
You got to take it. Yeah, I would take it. I mean, at this point, I would take it for
And it's
sure.
a rental for them because he's going to be a free agent in the spring.
Yep. And
And then
unless
he's
they're
going to
giving him a
be,
$20 million
further off
contract.
from the injury. He's going to have another year to rehab.
And I think Braxton can bounce back. I'm not. I've been a Braxton fan the last few years. To me, it was
So have
more
I.
the
And he's
writing was
had
on the
he's
wall
had
this
his
year.
moments. Nor I've seen and it's probably because he's not in tip top shape. He wears down, and when he
And I
wears
mean, his
down, his fundamentals break down.
and his anchor has always been a problem. And but the bottom line was the Bears were never going to give him 20 plus million next year when he gets a new contract. Some
No,
team probably will.
I don't know about that, but they might give him 10,
Yeah, I mean, his
15.
play this year might have hurt his. If he would have came out in free agency this year after what he did last year, looking pretty good. I think a team probably would have gave him that. Now, struggling this year getting benched unless he gets traded and reestablishes his value, which may be a reason to trade him because Braxton obviously is going to want to play. He's a guy who wants to be on the field. He's going to want to establish his value heading into free agency. So that's one of those moves. Ryan Poles in the past has seemed to make those moves that, hey, this isn't necessarily to help the team, but this is to help the player. It's to give him an opportunity somewhere else because
Right.
he can still play.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. There's going to be a lot of rumors, and you know how Bears Twitter is.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's going to say they're unhappy, and all of a sudden you got to go out and get that guy.
It's how it is, man. There's a lot. I've seen rumors with Jeffrey Simmons, Trey Hendrickson,
Oh
all
yeah,
these guys,
Henderson's.
even
I mean,
Max
that's been
Crosby.
going on forever, and he never
Yeah,
got traded. And I never
yeah. I
thought he
do.
was going to get traded.
I didn't think Trey would get traded either. I will say, watching that Bengals game last night, if the Bengals would have lost again, I think it now finally it would. If their season is over and they know they're letting Trey walk next year, suddenly it would make sense to trade him because coming into
I
the
don't. I
year,
don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. But winning yesterday now really, what are
Flacco
they going to
saved him.
do? They play us in a few weeks.
Mhm.
It's what do they do between now and when they play our team?
Yeah, and last night, if they would have lost that game and continued losing, then I think Trey being traded makes sense. But winning that game, Joe Flacco, he's probably Zach Taylor wants to save his job. He's a guy who's on the hot seat. He wants to win. So at the end of the day, I don't think they trade him. But if they keep losing, it's always a possibility.
Well, the other thing too is now you've got one game on tape in that offense,
Mm.
and that's going to help the opposing team's coordinators, build a game plan.
Oh yeah. We're finally winning games, man. So, but Joe Flacco definitely changed things there. He at least gives them a shot to win games. We saw it last night. So, the Bengals are probably going to hope they can keep winning, keep
Well, it
those
could be
playoff
this
hopes
though too,
alive.
Swifty. Could be the Steelers are really bad. What's their record? I don't have the records in front of me.
They're 4-2.
Okay, well then they're a little bit. Then it was a shocker. But the game wasn't, division game. The game was in Cincinnati. They've got some good players on that team. They played hard, but Flacco played out his rear end.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The NFC North is one of those divisions that's been one of the best in football the last couple of years. But right now, the Browns are 1-5. The Ravens are 1-5. The Bengals are actually in second place in the division at 3-4 behind the Steelers. So I think that win last night probably ended any chance of Trey Hendrickson being traded. But for the Bears, I do think Ryan Poles is always looking to improve this team. We just worked out Jamal Williams again. I like Jamal Williams. He's a guy who can play well, but I do think Poles will be looking to improve this team. It just comes down to, is he going to find someone that we can have at a good cost without giving up valuable draft capital next year?
Yeah, but some of those things, like with Jamal Williams, it's just see where he is conditioning wise and stuff now. In case you got another injury, and you got to bring a guy in.
100%. And so with next two games, Saints and Ravens, what do you expect this Sunday against the Saints? Do you think we're going to come out there and get the victory, or
Oh yeah, I fully expect to win, but then I don't expect to win the following week unless
the Ravens?
something
Yeah.
catastrophic happens to the Ravens again this week. Uh, I just think they're going home. They're not even playing, so
They're on a bye week.
catastrophic
Yeah,
can't
they're
even
resting
happen.
up. Yeah.
They're home. They're coming off a bye. It's going to be like the Detroit game,
Mm.
week 2. I mean, not the score wise, but I think they're just going to be fired up. How Detroit got their rear end kicked in Green Bay the week before. Then they go home and they're really on fire. I think
Gotta get
Baltimore is
right,
going to be
Pete.
the same way. You're
Yeah, I
just
think
going to be
that's a
catching
game.
with the wrong time. They're a lot better than one win.
They're way better than a one-win team. They're a Super Bowl. They're a team with Super Bowl aspirations that have
Or at
been one
least
of
we
the
think
best
they
teams in the
are.
league.
Maybe
Yeah.
they really are a one-win team, but I don't think
Now they
so.
have been over the last 4 or 5 years, they've been one of the better teams in the NFL. And you think they still have that. But the one thing I will say about them, that what we've seen this year, is they are beatable. So that is a game that we'll really find out who the Bears are next week. No
Yep.
matter what happens on Sunday against the Saints, win or loss, we'll find out who we are against the Ravens when they have 2 weeks to prepare for us and they have Lamar Jackson back. That's a game that's really going to be a barometer. How good are the Bears in 2025? We're about a little over a week from finding out, and I can't wait, Greg. I think that's going to
Yeah.
be a
The
big one.
one last thing, the Troy Aikman stuff. Throw that
Oh,
out.
I
That
didn't
that
even
that
get
was
to that.
just
I released a video on that earlier today.
that was strictly that was personal with Aikman. Aikman just has
Mm.
a hard on for him.
That's
The
exactly what I said. He's got an agenda he was pushing during that game.
Yeah, and it fell right in his face because they came back and won. The Bears won the game, and
Hmm.
he made himself look like a fool.
Honestly, it was embarrassing. I thought it was embarrassing.
Oh, I know.
The
But
guy
the
who,
thing is I can go back to when I was working there, and Troy Aikman would work our games,
oh
and
yeah,
he was the same way. He has never liked the Bears. He's always been an anti-Bear analyst for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is, but the whole national look, take away Aikman, the rest of it's starting to get positive on Caleb. The
it's
BS you
starting to
were
come
hearing
around
over the
finally.
summer, like that article the guy wrote, when training camp was open, nobody even remembers that.
People forget about the Tyler Dunn hit piece already, man. It's already being forgotten about because what he's doing on the football field overwrites that. But it
Well,
did
there's
feel what
supposed
I
to be
did.
a part 2. I don't even know if he released the part 2, but it got no traction, even if there
He did a
was.
part two and a part three, and I saw him, but I didn't even read them because honestly, he's interviewing guys that pretty much are out of the NFL, and that's why they're willing to go on record and get their 5 minutes of fame or 15 minutes of fame
Right.
because they can take a shot at the Bears and try to tear them down because they were part of the people that Ryan Poles fired. Of course, they're gonna not have. You're never gonna have great feelings towards a guy who fired you or sent you
Never.
packing. So, not a surprise to me, but Caleb Williams is starting to turn that narrative around. But watching that game at home on Monday night, it not only felt like we were playing against the Commanders, felt like we were going against their fan base because we were on the road. The announcers were against us, and the officials were against us. It felt
Oh, the
like it was
officials
us
were
against
brutal.
the world, and that's why winning that game felt so awesome to me. I felt like it was a breakthrough game for us, man.
You know, that game was and I got to watch what I say on your show, but that was an FU show or FU statement by the Bears.
It was, hey, tell the world, man. They're all against us, and we still found a way to win that game. No one expects that from the Bears. We're different now. It's a new era of Bears football.
Yep, I agree.
Guys, I wanted to add one more thing about Troy Aikman and all the talk going around. We all know that this is a new era of football. And the point of me making that video earlier was not to compare Caleb to Troy. It was to call out Troy for being unprofessional and clearly pushing an agenda. But people defending him are clearly out of pocket here. I've heard a lot of people say that QBs didn't throw for 20 TDs back then, but that's simply not true. QBs have thrown for 30 to 40 touchdown passes since 1960. But for Troy Aikman, his best skill was always handing the ball off to Emmett Smith. If you want to be mad at me for calling out Troy for pushing an agenda, that's fine. But trying to pretend it didn't happen, you were simply lying to yourself at that point. But let's go ahead and get back to the video. I am excited to announce that parlays are now live on ProfitX, America's #1 sports prediction market. Try them out today. Be sure to use promo code SWIFT and take advantage of some bonus profit cash. Sign up today. This week, the Chicago Bears are actually favorites to win at home against the New Orleans Saints, and I'm riding with my exact same pick of the week. Caleb Williams over 1.5 TD passes. I think it's something he's going to get done easily. My second pick of the week, though, is Rome Odunze for an anytime touchdown. He's going to get back at the refs for taking away his touchdown last week. Rome Odunze is going to score. If you sign up, use the link below and be sure to use promo code SWIFT. I love it, Greg. So we'll talk to you again. We'll talk after the Ravens game. Hopefully, we'll be talking about 2 more wins, but at least one. We need at least one.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Greg, as always, man, it's an honor. I appreciate talking to you. Always have a great time. Your knowledge and love of the game of football is second to none, man. You're a legend, and I appreciate talking to you and want to say bear
Hey,
down,
I,
man. I
I
hope you have a great
appreciate
week.
being on here with you. It's a lot of fun having the conversation.
It's always fun talking to you, Greg. Bear down, my man.